Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Trevor Sean Audiocast, episode number 27. Happy October, everybody. It's been a busy fall for me. I'm in the event industry business, and so falls are a little busy just because we're doing a lot of outdoor farm type events for my business. So anyway, it's been good though. It's been fun being outside and enjoying the weather for sure. But yeah, welcome back. Just for those that are new, I set up this podcast to really just have a space to document my journey for building a successful, valuable life. I feel like I had a lot of missing pieces in my life that I've really just been curious and wanting to know about people that are successful and that keep growing and improving versus others that maybe spin their wheels a little bit and plateau. And so anyways, that's kind of why I started this. And a lot of it's dedicated to my kids. So anyway, I think it's been like 2 years since I started this, actually this fall. So we're coming up anyway. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, hopefully you're able to find something that's valuable from a topic perspective. And it's kind of interesting hearing people talk about different topics and things and how that triggers something in your mind, an idea, something you want to go pursue or research and dig into a little bit deeper. And that's honestly why I'm just trying to do this, to lay some type of a roadmap for things to think about and help improve our lives in a valuable way. So the topic for the day is isolate yourself and work. So I've really been kind of obsessing about this idea probably for about the last month. I first got this idea a couple episodes ago when I tried a work experiment where I disciplined myself enough to work on a singular project for at least 30 minutes a day every day until it was complete. And so it worked out to be like a week. And I talked about my experience doing that, and it was really a healthy, good exercise that I was able to draw a lot of really good lessons from. Excuse me. And so this idea just kind of kept coming back to me over like multiple times over the last month or two. And I just kind of want to dive into it a little bit more just because I think it has a lot of valuable pieces associated with it that I think can help. So at least it's going to help me, and I kind of try to set my life up. These topics and things like that I talk about are things that I'm experimenting with and trying as well, and so I feel like I have a little bit of knowledge around them just because it's something I'm trying and I'm doing every day. So anyway, I wanted to talk first about the few reasons why I really like this idea. And so the first would be whatever work you really want to pursue, it just has to be your own thing, and you really need time to be able to sort through what that looks like and what you want it to be and become, right? And so isolating yourself really helps you dig into your own mind and help you understand and identify what the purpose of your project is and what kind of work you want to do and how you want to bring that forth in a valuable way and how successful you want it to be and all that kind of stuff, right? I feel like with a lot of noise and a lot of different hands in these types of things can just get so messy before you even really have a chance to sort it out and figure out what you want to do. So that's the number one reason. The second would be it really eliminates distractions. So just getting yourself in a spot where you can be by yourself and do the work to be able to dive deep into whatever project or work that you're on can give you some really valuable data and use cases and experience that otherwise gets a little cloudy when there's a lot of people around or other things that get in the way. And then lastly, when you're really alone, and I figured this out, and it's really a beautiful, cool little hack. I don't like using that word just because I feel like it's a little cliched nowadays, but when you're really alone with only your work, you have to be able to figure it out. Like there's nothing else between the project going or not. It's literally just you and the effort and the time that you're putting into it. So, and I'll talk about that stuff a little bit. Yeah, those are the three main reasons why I really like this idea, and so I'll kind of elaborate on a few things. So with those things in mind, this idea really kind of helped me take the next step in a couple projects that I'm working on, and it definitely wasn't easy. It's probably the scariest step, but also the most vital one, in my opinion. And so I'll talk about that. So the reason I think that it's scary is you just have full accountability for whatever you're doing and whatever you're trying to work on and do in your life. And I don't even care. Who knows what it is that you want to pursue? I don't know. Maybe it's your career that you are working 9 to 5 on. Maybe it's a side project that you're trying to really push to become your next career. I don't know. Maybe it's just working on your own landscaping at your house, or, I don't know, whatever project that you are working on. Maybe it's parenting, maybe it's whatever. I don't know what that is. But whatever you're really trying to pursue and get better at and obtain some really valuable skills in that step, having full accountability and removing all the different barriers that can come up while you're on that journey is definitely a scary step, just because it's all on you. Like, if it works or not, it's up to you. And there's definitely, when you're deep diving into these types of projects, there's going to be plenty of pivot points, but I don't think pivots are failures. I mean, it's kind of like a failure, but you found out a way or something that doesn't quite work or doesn't fit the way that you thought it was going to be, and so you pivot and start going a different direction. But that only happens if you're really into your work and you're actually experiencing it and doing it. You can't have anyone or anything else, YouTube or podcasts or books or whatever, come in and be like, oh yeah, and then you're going to hit this spot and then you got to turn here and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that doesn't work, dude. Like, these books and YouTubes and podcasts and all that kind of stuff, I'm not bagging them, man, because it's important, and you gotta, if that's what you need to get to this point, then that's great. And honestly, I needed a lot of those resources to kind of get to this point where I was like, okay, I heard everything I really kind of need to know as far as how to set myself up to do these types of things. But then at the end of the day, you just got to go do it and figure it out on your own, And I'm just reading a couple notes. I was just reading reading, hearing, watching all these different types of stories of how people make things like this happen. They're cool stories, and I think they're very important because it really gives you a use case for actually seeing that things like that can happen. But like I said, at the end of the day, you got to be able to put in the work and make your own story, because they're all similar. All these stories are similar, but you have to experience your own experience, and that's super important. You can't just wake up and steal someone else's path and go make it happen. You still got to go through all the growing pains and put in the work and the time, for sure. Let's see. Yeah, another note that I wanted to say about it is when you're there with just you and your work, there's no more hiding behind anybody's story. There's no more help, no books, no podcasts, nothing. I just mentioned this, obviously, but there's nothing else that you can hide behind to be like, oh, I came across this problem, I should probably go read about it and how I need to figure out whatever. And there are some times where some very valuable resources that you can use to help break through some certain things. But what I'm really talking about is getting down to actually doing and completing whatever work that you're set out to do. There's nothing you can read that's gonna get the time and the work done. You have to really put it in. And there's just and the last note I had was there's no more waiting. What are you waiting for? How many books do you need to read about something before you go do it? For example, writing a book. That's something that I'm not actively pursuing right now, but I thought about the idea of it, and it's it sounds cool, but every book I've read about writing, it's okay, it's good to read about certain things and how to build paragraphs and sentence structures and whatever. That's great. And you need to know those things. But you also need to write. Like you can't write a book without writing it, right? And so you got to be able to go through it and get your first draft down and then go back through and look at everything that's not right and then fix it and take out what you don't need and put in what you do need and all that stuff. And that only happens if you write it, right? So when you're there with just, let's see, sorry. So yeah, you have to really dive deep into what you're doing and experience everything so you know and can make the decisions on what the next step is, because there's no resources out there that's going to be able to tell you that. That's something that you know, I think, internally, but you have to allow yourself to bring that out. And you can only do that if you're really just diving into your work. And so, and that took me a long time to figure out, man. I feel like I've been, like I just mentioned, like there's a lot of different types of YouTubes and podcasts, episodes that I've listened to and books, and I've talked a lot about them that are really helpful, and they've really unlocked a ton of different tools that I've had that I just didn't really realize it. And so those are all really great things. And if you need to do that, then definitely do it, because I needed to. I needed to go through a lot of different materials to be able to get to a place where I was like, I'm very capable. I know kind of like what to do and the next steps. And then the last piece is, now it's like, okay, well, how many more books do I need? I mean, literally, I just thought this to myself. It's like, how many more books do I need to read before I just start doing this and like kind of figuring out? And then you can still use those materials and go back and help enhance your experience and what you're doing. But they're still not going to like make things happen. You got to do it. So lastly, I just kind of want to talk about a few things that have helped me kind of get onto this path and start doing this more frequently, and it's really paid off a ton. I'll talk about that in a second, but so these are just a few things. Number one, and this is the hardest one for me, so take it from me, Mr. I try a million different things and want to do 10 different projects at the same time. Work on a singular thing. And I know I literally have, like, even right now, I could tell you 5 interests that I have that are like really high on my priority list that I really want to pursue and do. But the reality is your time's limited, and if you really want to make a gain in something and be extraordinary at it, you got to spend the time doing it. And the reality is there's just not that much time. And so work on a singular thing, and then I also put a note for setting a time limit to do that, and start small. So set a goal to work on whatever you want to work on, just one thing for, I don't know, 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. I don't know, maybe you want to read more books. So you set a timer for 5 minutes and you just read 5 minutes a day. And then after a while, you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, I hit 5. It's easy. Or I'm bored or whatever, and I want to do more. I want to read more books or, whatever. So then up the limit. But once you start getting that daily practice and you're setting that limit and you're kind of like gaming yourself to do the type of things that you want to do, then you can start to really see how that focus, and then also you're training your brain with that time, it really pays off a ton. And being patient and allowing that to happen, I think, is a huge win. And it's something that I'm trying to teach my kids, and I also share it with a lot of people. It's about just how patient it really does take a long time to be able to formulate some of these really strong habits, and it really starts with some really small steps. Next thing was remove your mind from any other project. So it kind of goes with the first one, but you also just really have to eliminate any type of distraction that you have for trying to work on anything else at the same time. Even me, sometimes when I come down and do this kind of stuff, I have it in mind, like, okay, I got to record this podcast real quick, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. So I have like 3 things that's kind of lined up, and it just doesn't work really well that way. And like I said, there's just not enough time. So you got to set up your schedule in a way. That's actually the next thing, is schedule your time and make it the schedule you want. So make sure you set aside time on that you can perform and do this type of work on a consistent basis, so that when it's time to, get your stuff done and get going, that it's already set up and done. And also the other people in your life know about it. And so that you don't have to make a decision. You just have to go do it. I think that's a big thing. And I talk a lot about that previously in these other episodes where you're creating these habits where you don't make a decision anymore. You just, it's time to go do this. And you just go. And that's a huge barrier lifter that I've experienced. And then the last thing is you have to do it every day and try to be better than what you were yesterday. So that's just like a little game that you can play with yourself. And it's really crazy, but you can really start to identify really quickly about how capable you really are, about the kind of stuff that you want to do. And it's very, what's the word? It's such a great feeling to be able to know that what you actually really want to do and what you've dreamed about doing or whatever, and you've had this, goal, this idea in your mind for so long about things that you want to accomplish, when you sit down and just I'm telling you, I did it on that work experiment for literally 30 minutes a day. And after the first day, I was like, damn, dude, I really can see how this can pay off if I just do 30 minutes even, right? And then after that week, I was like, all right, well, I can do an hour. I feel like I could do an hour. And actually, some of the days I did do an hour. I feel like I kept it like that just because I didn't want to get overwhelmed. But you can really start to see things line up and be like, okay, well, this is exactly what all of these resources, and like I mentioned, I use a ton of them, books, podcasts, TED Talks, YouTubes, whatever. And you can start to see how these people are thinking and how they actually accomplished some of the things that they accomplished. And they got crazy efficient and had a ton of work ethic, but it really started with a curiosity and a focus to sit down and work on just one thing at a time. And then once you kind of get that ball rolling, and depending on what kind of route you're doing, whether your project's going to be singular for the life of it, or if it really starts to grow and get big, and then you have to start scaling things and bringing some more people on, that work and time that you spent doing that project is really going to pay off a ton and make a big difference, because it's going to help drive those decisions and make sure everyone else is on board with what you want to do. So anyway, I didn't want to make this a very long podcast, but this is really what's been on my mind a ton, and I hope it's something that triggers something in your mind for something that you want to work on and something you want to do. Or maybe you were stuck and feel overwhelmed because you have so many different things you can't get to it. I think that's the one biggest takeaway for me. One of the biggest things is I feel like there's not enough time for me to work on all the things I really want to do. And so it was really hard for me to sacrifice everything else just to work on one singular thing. But when I did it and just freaking did it, and it was hard, it made a huge difference, and I felt so fulfilled afterwards, because I was like, oh my gosh, I just worked on one thing, but I made tons of progress on this one thing. And then the other things just kind of fell away. And so you also start to notice what priorities you have when you do this, because if you are spending that much time on one thing, you're either going to love it and it's going to be really invigorating, you're going to want to continue to do it more and more, or it's going to fall by the wayside and be like, well, maybe that's not something I really actually want to do anyways. And then something else will pop up, and that's kind of where that pivot comes in from all these different things that we want to do and grow with. So for what it's worth, I think this was a really interesting and helpful topic for me, and it's been a really big unlock for my life and how I'm starting to approach different things that I'm working on. So I hope you find some value in it and can pursue it. So that's it for me today. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace out.